what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 23 of AAO Presents Behind the Lens, where I interview a new guest each week about their past, present, and future endeavors. This week is no different. Our guest this week is an amateur mixed martial artist, undefeated with a record of 6-0 with all finishes. He is the Legends of Combat amateur welterweight champion. And in just over a week, he will be competing for his second belt, the Two-Piece Promotions Amateur Welterweight Championship. Fighting out of Stars and Strikes MMA, he is Erick Reaves. What's going on, Erick?
Not much. At work right now.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you taking some time out of the day to talk to me, get some content out there for the fans. So let's start at the beginning. What first got you into fighting, and when did you know this was more than just a hobby?
Well, growing up, always just got into fights, wrestled for a while, boxed for a little. So it just was always second nature, and just one day decided to go to the gym and try to do it for some money. And that's pretty much how I got here.
Well, you've already proven yourself as a contender. You've definitely became a champion already. So you're 6 fights in, you kind of got the feel of how the sport goes. What's been different about this fight camp as you prepare for your second title shot?
It feels different, going for the second belt. First belt, you're not a champion, so it, you don't know what that feels like. But going for this second belt, it puts a different feeling onto you. Like, you feel like a champion, you train like a champion, you go harder, you do the extra mile just because. And so with this camp, I feel like this is probably one of my best camps that I've had, just through and through. I've had some ups and downs. My grandma ended up passing away not too long ago, so that was real rough on the family. So I just had to keep training, through all that. And, I think that really actually helped me out throughout this camp.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your grandma, but definitely, like you're saying, being a champion already makes it different. I mean, you usually when amateur becomes a champion, they'll have a run, become pro, or they'll just become pro immediately. Besides that, has staying undefeated added any pressure, or is it something that kind of fuels your confidence heading into this matchup?
It doesn't really affect me. A record's just a record. I'm an amateur. I'm gonna go back to 0-0. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
I just right now fight however I fight, win or lose, don't really matter. Throughout wrestling and everything, you learn how to take wins and take losses. So I'm excited, to have a fight that I lose, because just looking at history, most of the time the undefeated fighter takes a loss, it kind of spanks them in the ass a little bit. So I'm not scared to lose. Losing is not really a factor for me. I'm gonna fight my fight no matter what.
Right. Well, after June 28th, assuming you walk out with another belt, what's next? Are you thinking about turning pro, or do you still have unfinished business here at the amateur level?
So I got a little more unfinished business here. I would definitely want to defend one of the belts to just solidify that championship. I feel like you're a champion once you have the belt, but you're not a champion until you defend it. You know what I mean? You gotta defend that belt, I feel like, to actually be able to, for me at least, to feel comfortable saying I'm a real champion. I feel like I have to defend a belt first. But that also being said, I am a champion. I feel like a champion. So defending the belt is just going to be just like any other fight.
Right. So do you feel ready for that pro level?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to defend the Legends belt, and then I'm going to go down to 155, more than likely. And then I'm going to do my last amateur fight at 155 and go pro. Okay. Have you ever fought at 155 prior to that? No, dude. The lowest I ever been, even in high school, was like 168 at my lowest, So that's definitely going to be a preparation fight. That's not going to be, it's going to take some time. I generally walk around from a pretty big guy, so getting down that low, I'm definitely going to have to be very, very strict on my diet and everything else. But when that time comes, I'll be ready for it.
All right. Make that transformation into a pro. All right. So awesome, man. Well, whatever you decide to do, we're looking forward to following your success. So one last question, not fight related. When you're not preparing or training for a fight, how do you spend your time outside of the gym?
Really, man, honestly, nowadays, I don't really do too much. I might go out with some friends here or there, maybe do a little trip, go out camping or, really, now I think about it, I don't really have much of a life anymore. It's pretty much just, it's training at home, work, training at home, work, and I'll take my little vacations, my little celebrations after my victories, So it's really just most of the time training and work, and then occasionally maybe going out on a weekend or something. But
yeah, I feel you there, man. It's on the grind.
It's definitely a lifestyle being a fighter. You can't, because, before I started fighting, I was 300 pounds. I was not in a good spot, very depressed, stuff like that, all that good stuff. And, fighting is just a lifestyle that doesn't allow that. So through fighting and training and everything, got back down to what I normally am. And, ever since that, it's just second nature. If I don't go to the gym, at least when I'm not in camp, at least 3-4 days a week, I feel gross, nasty, fat, lazy. So definitely.
Hey, that's good though. That's good. You got your head on straight for it, for sure. So I was going to add an extra one. So I wanted to ask you if you have fight experience prior to being an amateur fighter, or did you just kind of join the gym or what?
So I wrestled for 8 years. And in between wrestling
Right
and football, boxed for a couple of months here and there, but nothing too serious, just, at a gym.
Hey, the wrestling helps, man, for sure.
Definitely. But, I was still a bad kid. I was always getting into fights. There's been multiple times where I've had to fight more than one guy at once. And, it's fun. Little brother gets me shit, or at least he used to, so, that's always fun. Or just having a loud mouth. I remember being a freshman fighting a guy that just graduated because he said he didn't want to go to jail for whooping a freshman's ass.
So you had
So, fighting's just always been second nature. Watching my dad get into a bunch of fights growing up, hearing stories about him always getting into fights. My grandpa was known for being a rough guy and all that other stuff. And so it's always been second nature. Violence is custom, so it's used to it. You grow to like it, grow to love it.
Well, I'm glad you chose to go the more professional route. It's a bit safer that way because, street fights can go crazy, even if you've beaten the guy's ass. You don't want to accidentally hurt somebody.
No. You don't really get paid for knocking some guy out at a bar. That's
100%.
That's what we're here for, to make a life for ourselves with fighting, So I'm going to do everything in my power to be able to do that, to be able to make the money I need to make to live comfortably through my hands.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Well, be sure not to miss Two Piece Promotions 5. Let the games begin next Saturday, June 28th at the World of Games in Southgate, Michigan. Erick Reaves takes on Wayne Williams for the title. Erick, let the viewers know where they can find you on socials.
Follow me at reaves.erick on Instagram, reaves.erick.
Awesome, man. And be sure to follow Erick, and be sure to follow and subscribe to AAO Media for new content notifications. And thanks for watching. Until next time, peace.